Hello, and welcome back to the GCP-Mindset channel. Today we'll answer the question, how are investigational medicinal products, IMPs, managed?
Clinical trials can be rather simple if you have a single site in a single country, or they can be really complex if you have study sites across the continents. In that case, study logistics, especially around the investigational medicinal products or the study drug, can become really complex. So therefore, let me lead you a little bit through that journey. Usually, you have one location, one site where the study drug is manufactured. For example, this could be in a place in the United States. However, patients are treated then across the globe, and somehow this medication, which is manufactured in North America, needs to get to patients, for example, in Europe and in Asia. This means at first that the medication is produced and then it receives a label. This contains information on the study drug, which study it's used for, contact information in case of any questions or concerns, and some tracking information and a little bit more. This can then be shipped, for example, to central providers, drug logistics partners in different regions. For example, you could have a depot, so someone that receives and stores the medication before it's shipped further in Europe, and another one in Asia. And then, of course, the manufacturer or a separate depot in North America, where the medication is stored until it needs to be shipped to the study sites. The process of storing and shipping the medication usually is done in a very controlled manner, involving also temperature control, since some medication is stable only in a certain range, for example, from 2 to 8 degrees, from 2 to 20 degrees, or even at -4 or at -20 degrees. -80 can also sometimes be the case, and then it becomes logistically even more challenging to ship all of this. Now, these temperature ranges in which the study medication after its production should be stored need to be controlled. So usually you have temperature logger, which tell you whether you are within the anticipated temperature range or if it's too high or too low. So these are then also included in the shipment process, and it is also stored in the local depots, for example, in Europe and in Asia, so that you can control and ensure that all your study medication was always within the desired range. Now, when a patient enters the trial site or is enrolled in the study and you have an anticipation of treatment, the central depot can then ship medication to the local sites. Sometimes, if you have a lot of stability or a lot of study drug available, you can also already ship some batches and have them stored at the site. At the site themselves, they need to, of course, document receipt. They also need to ensure that study medication is stored safely away from any other medication, specifically in such a way that no patient not part of the study will be coincidentally subjected to the study medication. So usually it's in separate rooms or in separate freezers, or as part of, especially for larger sites, they have dedicated rooms in which they keep all of the study medications for the different trials. Now, in this process, as I'm highlighted, the temperature excursions need to be documented. So in case it's too high or too low, this should be there. And a report needs to be filed. Otherwise, also how much medication was received and which specific medication needs to be documented. Then this is eventually given to the patients, or it's reconstituted first. In some studies, you receive a powder, but what the patient should receive, for example, is an IV, so an intravenous injection, which means you would first need to take up the powder in a specified and controlled process into a liquid and then transfer that over. And this would be done by a local pharmacy. Sometimes you will directly give the patient, for example, a blister of tablets, and they're supposed to take them home. In this case, you also need to control how many tablets are given to the patient and how many are returned. So a sort of drug accountability. This allows you to understand if too many or too few tablets were taken by the patients at home. All of this highlights to you how complicated it is from having a person somewhere in the world, a manufacturer, produce their study drug to finally a patient receiving it and there being an accountability and a trial all the way through. And therefore, a lot of effort is put into controlling and standardizing this process of drug logistics.